All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad you all are here. Let's see who's coming in today. Thank you all for being here this morning. Thank you so much for your time today. We have some great information for you on the essentials of educators' self care. This is research based. What is the literature saying? What does the literature say about what educators can do to improve their self-care practices? And not only educators, but educational institutions of higher learning. Here's why this is important. The pandemic almost ruined so many educators. Of course, the pandemic almost ruined a lot of people in a lot of industries. But when you look at the industry of education, the pandemic was a major upheaval for education. From that time forward, we've pretty much changed how we have been delivering instruction. We have become so flexible, which is a good thing. But in order to catch up with the trends, with the changes, to be, solidly anchored in the new practices, it takes an adjustment period. And many of us did not have time to adjust. We just pivoted on the fly and we've been moving in fast forward speed ever since. The pandemic was definitely a major catalyst for why we are having this discussion today, the essentials of educator self-care. All right, so welcome everyone. It is 11:02. I am glad you all are taking time to be here. I understand that your time is precious and valuable, so I plan to quickly move through this proposal, this presentation. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I have my mic. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I've got my mic here. I've got my slides, and I am going to begin presenting. Let me see. Does anyone need any type of assistance with getting in here? I should be streaming live on LinkedIn. So welcome those of you who are visiting from LinkedIn. Here we go. Here's a little bit about my background. So I am Dr. Lynn Daniel, Ph.D, Ed.S. I earned my Ph.D from Concordia University, Chicago in 2020. My dissertation focused on teachers' attitude about teaching adolescent refugee students. And so I successfully defended, and that is my PhD. I earned an educational specialist degree with a focus on curriculum and instruction and administration from Lindenwood University in St. Charles, Missouri, my home state. My Master's of Education was earned at National Louis University, and that is a master's in curriculum and instruction as well. Harris-Stowe State University, which is a historically Black college and university. It is an historic institution for teachers. It started off as a teachers college in St. Louis. So I earned my bachelor's from Harris-Stowe State University, and these little icons represent former employers, current employer, institutions that I am a part of, and communities that I interact with other educators. So here's the overview of the presentation today. We're looking at educators struggling under these current demands and responsibilities, especially since the pandemic. Okay, so Steiner and Wu conducted a study for the RAND Institute, and I'm going to look at some of my notes to highlight some of their key findings. Nearly 1 in 4 teachers reported that they were likely to leave their job at the end of 2022 and 2021. 2020, 2021. They were more likely to leave then, compared to 1 in 6 teachers who were likely to leave on average prior to the pandemic. And for Black teachers, a lot more. That number was highly representative of Black teachers who were planning to leave the classroom. A much higher percentage of teachers reported frequent job-related stress and symptoms of depression. And this is more than the general population of US citizens. Here's another factor that Steiner and Wu highlighted. The mode of instruction and health were the highest ranked stressors for teachers, because during the pandemic, we pivoted to high-tech instructional frameworks, digital remote frameworks, hybrid instruction. And the learning curve was very, very short. Like, we didn't have time to prep. Even though many of us had been introduced to various forms of technology prior to the pandemic, the circumstances in which they were being implemented was, there was so much high tech being used to where it just was overwhelming to many teachers. So these are key findings, and these are reasons why I am presenting this information. So let me tell you what prompted me to begin investigating or looking closely in this sort of informal manner, looking more closely at educators' self-care. Because after we returned to campus after the pandemic, I first started noticing how students were looking, acting, sounding, what they were saying. I began having conversations with various teachers across various teacher platforms and communities that I engage with. And many of the teachers were noticing the same source of stressors in their students. So the conversations initially were about students' response to the pandemic. But as these interactions and conversations continued, I was noticing that teachers were sharing their own personal struggles with rebounding from the pandemic. So that is really what provoked me, if you will, to conduct this informal study. So my hope by the end of this presentation, I hope that you all will be able to identify the 7 pillars of self-care and why they are important to you personally and why they are important to our institutions where we teach. Also, by the end of this presentation, I hope that you are able to classify self-care actions that you can take, incorporate into your daily living, and that you will be able to determine how to take actions to address your own self-care concerns. So here are the problems that this informal study, discussion, presentation will set to solve. We know that educators are stressed. Yes, they are. And according to a preventive medicine report by Parker and et al., there are several factors that impact how the teacher stress is displayed. Okay. Educators are struggling under the demands of their roles. We know that. What are some easy to implement strategies and approaches that can be done on the institutional level, at the site level, to support teacher self-care, teacher wellness, and not once and done type things, but supports that could be implemented on a consistent long-term basis that complement teacher schedules, that complement the school function, how the school operates, and that is easy to navigate and put forth. And then the problem of mindset. So we know that mindset is important, but mindset does matter when it comes to understanding the importance of teacher self-care. All right, so how are you all doing out there? Are you all doing okay? Let me take a look and see how you all are doing. Hi there. Thank you for showing up. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your effort. It is so important for us to have this conversation, and your time is important as well. So let us continue. So what does the literature say about self-care in general? In general, self-care is important, and we know that. And there are 7 pillars according to the International Self-Care Foundation. So for educators, we see that more educators are leaving due to the stress. And during the pandemic, about 55% of teachers left. So if you envision that for your building, your site, imagine more than half of the teachers at your site leaving. Imagine what happens in those classrooms if no one is found to replace and to step into that position. Imagine the impact this has on you as a professional in your practice, and how it impacts the students who are learning there, the flow and the management of the campus itself. So when more teachers are leaving, the impact it ripples. The literature says that because of stress, obesity is on the rise for United States citizens in general. I could not find a lot of research about obesity as it relates to teachers in the United States. I did see some research that talked about obesity in rural teachers in a South American country, and that the number was high, and the reasons for the obesity, but not very much has been done to look at obesity in teachers in the United States. But overall, if you have almost 42% of Americans, United States citizens, being overweight, you can project that teachers are included in that number. And so it's affecting educators as well. Now, this report, this preventive medical report by Parker et al. Shows that teachers' nutritional habits impacts what they do in the classroom regarding nutrition, foods they allow their students to have in the classroom, types of snacks, foods for parties or celebrations or whatever, and drinks that students are given to consume or allowed to consume in the classroom. And so teachers who are more healthier nutritionally, they tend to support that and share that mindset with their students. Teachers who are less health nutritional conscious, they tend to allow more snacks or things like that in their classrooms, unhealthy types of foods. So what does that have to do, even before we move into what do school leaders say, what does this have to do with stress? Because we know that the foods we consume impact our feelings and our emotions and our energy levels. So if we are snacking on or eating highly sugary foods, and we're letting our students do the same, then it's going to impact the entire classroom's mood, feelings, energy levels. You got it, right? Maybe even behaviors. Some people's behaviors are impacted by their nutrition. Okay, so what do school leaders say? What are they saying about this whole topic of stress and teacher self-care and mindfulness regarding being healthy or having healthier actions for themselves. Well, there's another study, a couple of studies actually. One was conducted by an educational instructional technology company in Boston called the Unruly Studios, which is a creator of coding and play technology. They conducted a study across America. 557 K through 12 principals were surveyed for most effective strategies that administrators use to increase teacher morale. And they were looking at this data in conjunction with National Teacher Appreciation Week. And so here's what they found. They found quite a bit, but I only highlighted 3 or 4. 68% of school principals try to boost morale by reducing teacher workloads. Okay, so not offering, not telling them, not assigning them, not voluntolding them. Okay, so reducing their responsibility load. 45% of principals surveyed use praise and shout outs to boost teacher morale. 44% of principals surveyed identified teacher treats as a method to increase morale. 41% try implementing teachers' suggestions to increase the sense of camaraderie, community, and to boost teacher morale. So these are actions that principals are taking to improve teacher morale on their campus. And these actions are so important because they let us know that leaders are aware that teachers are impacted. They're negatively impacted by all these things that are happening since the pandemic, particularly triggered by the pandemic. Let's see, I had another set of notes. Let me see if I can find my other set of notes that were right on. Man, I don't see them. Oh, well. Okay. If I find those other set of notes, I'm going to share them on LinkedIn because I think you will find them quite valuable when it comes to what principals are doing, why they're acting, and what can principals do. They could also get some systematic types of actions they can implement on a consistent basis that survey teachers, get teachers' input, that monitor teachers' wellness, that provide relief and support. And this can be done in a systematic way so that teachers are consistently being monitored, supported, and listened to and heard. Okay, here are the 7 pillars that I had mentioned. So the 7 pillars of self-care. And this is from the International Self-Care Foundation. So the first pillar is knowledge, having knowledge about health literacy, doing some active reading of books and materials related to health, wellness, improving your capacity to understand the importance of basic health information and being able to make appropriate health decisions for yourself. That is self-care literacy. Self-care agency is your mental well-being. So in this agency is when you're acting, you're actually implementing something. You're putting into action some protocols. You're eating healthier. You're going to the doctor. You're visiting your caregiver or care provider, and you're staying on top of your family history, medical history, and all of those things, your dental care, you're monitoring yourself. That is self-care agency. Physical activity, of course, is like when you all see me, I will record myself riding my bicycle. I really enjoy that physical activity. That is a relatively new activity for me. Of course, I rode a bicycle when I was a young girl growing up. And I think I haven't ridden a bicycle since my 20s, but I decided I was going to get a bicycle after seeing some neighbors enjoying their bicycle and talking to them about cycling. So, finding a physical activity that you enjoy. On my job recently, we had a full district professional development day, and there was a session offered for stretching. And so, in the session, we were shown how to stretch standing up in full body engagement and sitting down stretching, like isolated areas of the body. And so finding physical activity that works for your body and that you're able to do is so beneficial. Nutrition. So having healthy eating habits, healthy habits of drinking water and that type of approach. Avoiding risk with like nicotine and overeating, overindulgence, and um, being careful in avoiding accidents and that type of thing. Personal hygiene. So, having good personal hygiene practices for your own body, for your area of where you live, for your classroom. And after COVID or after the pandemic, schools did incorporate a lot of personal and classroom hygiene protocols. And one of the studies, this study here by, um, let's see, the study by Wu, Steiner and Wu, they even recommend that schools consider protocols, hygiene protocols that are easy to implement and that do not disrupt instruction. And so I don't know, they even offered like hire more cleaning crew and that type of thing. I don't know if schools are able to do that, but that was something, one of their recommendations for to address hygiene. Responsible agency is when you are making rational use of products, self-care products, medications, and that type of thing, alcohol, drugs, making responsible use of those and being very careful. So the 7 pillars of self-care comes from the International Self-Care um, Foundation. Another tool that schools are using is the Yale School of Emotional Intelligence ruler. And the ruler stands for, it's an acronym that stands for recognizing, understanding, labeling, expressing, and regulating. And so, again, when you tie this ruler into, when you align it with the 7 pillars, then these are mindsets, these actions here on the ruler, these are mindsets that allow the teacher, the educator, the individual to reflect and to project and move forward. When I say project, not like put on others your perceptions, I mean to look in ahead into your future and then plan for that and take daily actions that respond to your what you recognize, that respond to what you understand, that help you to categorize what needs to be addressed in your life, that help you to express what is going on in your life and to regulate in your life what you are able to regulate. And so here are my proposed solutions. Educators will find support to implement the 7 pillars of self-care and school employee wellness programs. I think that these two approaches, these are, they encapsulate pretty much the full scope of self-care, educator self-care. And so when we apply the 7 pillars of self-care to our lives, our families, our communities, and when our employers support us with ongoing, relevant, easy to incorporate wellness approaches, not just bonuses, like bonus points are fine. Some people will accumulate the bonuses because they're motivated by that I can't even say the word right now, extrinsic motivation. Others are not motivated by points. So employers can consider other modes of motivation and reward to help incorporate more teachers, to capture more teachers, to get more teachers, educators, employees engaged in the employee wellness program. And some of that can look like book talks, book reads, having guest authors, speakers, medical professionals who visit campuses. You can have virtual meetings with said professionals who check in on teachers. You can have coaches who work with departments or groups of teachers who sign up for the coach. There are so many approaches that could be applied through the employee wellness programs to support educators with their self-care. All right, so my call of action is for you all to join me. How do you join me? You can join me by reading my books on Amazon. I have 2 books, Trash Can, Stop Being a Receptacle for Toxic People's Waste. That book was written in response to what I saw after the pandemic in classrooms and what teachers across the country were sharing in our teacher groups about what they were seeing and experiencing. I have a second book that I published at the beginning of this year, You Are Not Garbage, Why You Must Overcome Adverse Childhood Experiences and How to Do It. And that book hits very straight to the core about adverse childhood experiences and how, if they go unaddressed, they lead to death, and what you can do to intervene and address them. So I made a Google form. You may leave your contact information on that Google form. That Google form is on my profile on LinkedIn. For those of you who follow me on LinkedIn, if you don't follow me over there. Okay. It's free. And so when you leave your contact on that form, just know that I am an ethical social media influencer interaction person contact. I do not sell your information. I do not spam you with things you did not inquire about. I share only what you ask for. I have a magazine, Start Healthy Magazine. It is in year 2. I've had it now this is going on year 2. So you may get, it's free subscription. It's a quarterly subscription. It has wellness information, lots of recipes. Some of them I have tried, some of them I have not. Tips on gardening, tips on problems and seeking attention from medical support and healthcare providers and that type of information. So if you want a free subscription, you can fill out the Google form, and that will help me to get you on the list, the mailing list. You can also join me. I have a YouTube channel. It's simply called Lynn Daniel. On Facebook, I have the Doctoral Aftercare and Healing Group, which is for PhDs, EDDs, PsychDs, anyone with their doctorate, or if you are a current doctoral student and you feel like you just want a place to gather and get some tips. It's really a quiet group. It's starting to liven up a bit, but it's been a very quiet group. People are respectful there. They listen and they share out. But if that's your community, or if you feel like you would be a good match for that community, join me there. Okay. All right, you all, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate your time. 31 minutes. I am in the framework that I was aiming for. So thank you for your time. You all have a great and blessed day. And I will see you on LinkedIn. Bye now.